Alright, so this video is on a slightly different topic of how, well, I don't know, it's something that I should have covered earlier, but I couldn't figure out how to fit it in, about what do you do when you have a specific recipe that requires specific measurements, but you still need to fill up, your container to the top. And I mean, I was thinking, I still got these potatoes. I was thinking of using them in a video, but then I rearranged the way I was doing the videos. Now, the potatoes don't require a certain amount of water, but it will still allow me to walk through kind of the process of just more of the fine tuning, you know, how you get your measurements right to make sure you do it. So basically, if you have a recipe, then you're going to have to figure out proportions for how much is going to fit in here. And I can kind of walk you through how I did it with the rice that was sprouted. So we didn't have an issue. So with pretending that this is the same one, I figure out how much I need to have in there. And then how would I do it? Basically, you're going to have to do a little bit of math if you actually have recipes and figure out what your proportions are and figure out what happens when you have, like, let's say I'm going to put so much rice in and then I have to add twice as much by volume of water. So say that with rice, with brown rice, the way that I do it is I have 1 cup of rice. Then cup can mean, I don't mean literally a cup, but just 1 portion of rice, and then you need twice the portion of water. So I have to figure out what happens when I do that, figure out how high it goes up. And I can do this with, you know, get like a big measuring cup. This is stuff I've already figured out in the past, so I got to keep doing it with every recipe. So like I have a big measuring cup, and then so like I'll pour in my 1 portion of rice, and then see how high that goes, and then I'll pour in my other portion of water, my double portion of water, and then see how high it actually goes. And then I'll kind of like back calculate the math. And then what I'll be able to do is that then I can measure how big this is. I'll know how much fits in here, and I don't remember how much fits in there, so that's why I'm not going to use it for a measured thing. But the other one holds exactly 12 ounces. So what ends up having to happen is I need to fill this up to the point where it's at 12 ounces, and I have graduations in here. You can kind of see them on the outside from here. Oh, that's funny, because they're backwards from my point of view, because they're forwards inside here. They're just stamped, but you can see them on the outside. That's the right way, unless the video gets reversed. So let's see. Yeah, it's 12 ounces that fit in there, but I can't literally add 4 plus 8. Like I need 1 portion of rice and 1 portion of a double portion of water. So I can't use 4 and 8 because the water is going to seep into the spaces in between the grains of rice. So we actually need more rice than you would think. And how it turns out is that if I add about 5, so I take it to, let's see, is this, I have to figure out where 5 is, so this is about where 4 would be, so I just like estimate, like about 5. I don't ever worry about being exact. If it's a little bit more watery than it needs to be, or a little less, it doesn't matter to me. I get it. So I put just about 5 ounces of rice in there, and then I fill the rest up to 12. So it turns out that I add 5, and then I add 10, and then it will fill it up to about 12. Right? Does that kind of make sense? You're going to have to do some experimentation to figure out what your proportions are for your recipe. Or just mix it all together in the correct proportions in something else and stick it in here. And then, I don't know, waste the other part until you get used to eyeballing about what you need. That's what I would do, unless you want to do like a lot of math. And I'm good at math, but I don't like doing it all the time, you know? So, in this case, I need to figure out how much this holds. So I'm not going to do an exact recipe. I'm just going to add a bunch of water to my potatoes. But I do want to figure out how much fits in here. So to do that, I'm just going to fill this whole thing up with water. Do I really have to do this? Yes, I do have to do this. You need to know how much fits in here so that you can prepare your cooking to be the right volume. So I'm just pumping it out of my water thing. And this is sufficiently empty for this purpose, so I'm just going to dump it all into the bigger one, which also has the graduations on it. And pour it into there. So, let's see, where are the graduations? And this is not perfectly level, so I got to figure this out. 20 ounces. So this is a 20 ounce. I probably could have made more potatoes. Is that right? No, that's about right. Okay, so there's 20 ounces. I know I need it to fill up to 20 ounces. But let's see. Let me think. Let me make sure. Does this one take 20 ounces? This is a 16 ouncer. And I think when I fill it up to the top, it'll be 20 ounces. So how do I want to do this? I'm going to transfer the water over to here, and I'm going to cook it in a big pot. Oh, that's absolutely correct. When I fill it up to just below the rim, that's 20 ounces. Good to know. Set that aside, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my potatoes to here, and then I'm going to have to add less water. I'm going to fill it up until it gets to the 20 ounce point. Oh, that's almost perfect. Yeah, I can do that. So now, all we got to do is the same thing. We're going to boil it, transfer it all to here, and, you know, it might be a little bit more difficult. The thing to do might be to, you know, literally scoop them out and put them in here. But I usually just try to like pour it in there somehow as best as I can, kind of get it kind of here and flip them one at a time into here. Reboil, like put the lid on, reboil it, and then, you know, why am I explaining this when I could just show you what I wind up doing? So I'll do this, get it started, and then we'll get to it when it boils. Alright, it's boiling and ready to go. So, go through the steps because it's useful. So this has already been preheated. Up here, start grabbing these. So kind of slice these potatoes smaller. That's going to help with cooking a little faster. If they were in chunks, then of course they'd take a little longer. Also, I can fit more potatoes in here if I cut them smaller. Okay, so it's filled almost up to the top. Fill just a little bit more. Do that. Let's hit this water one more time. Okay, the water in there is boiling again. Lid on. Should leak a little bit now. It didn't. Okay. Turn that off. So I don't have a Ziploc for this one, so I'm just going to put it in a bag. And I'm going to stick it back in here. And I still have my rice cooking in here. So there's not as much room, but the good thing about this is now I got two things, and I can feel, because this feels hot, that's how I know that it's leaking a lot of hot air. So leaking a lot of heat, in other words. But they can keep each other warm in there, so things cook a lot faster if you do your thermal cooking with a couple things at the same time. It can help keep each other warm. So again, we put this back in the sleeping bag and we're ready to go. And what, I don't know, I could pick this up at any time from probably a few hours from now. I usually leave it overnight, so I'm not, you have to experiment yourself to see, you know, if you can get it within 2 hours or so. I think maybe I have, and it's taken me at least 5 hours in general for these kinds of things. Potatoes seem to take me a really long time for whatever reason. But yeah, usually overnight is totally fine, or like, you know, beginning of the day, you know, breakfast time. After I make my breakfast, do another round of this, and then it's ready by dinner time. All right.